All right, hello and welcome, guys. We are here, and today we are going to be putting the brushless motor on the WLtoys 144001. Here we go, guys. So this is the motor. This is a 3650 4300 kV motor, and I ended up stripping the original mounts that go on this thing, and because I kind of scuffed it up, I ended up polishing it up a little bit. So it'll look a little better from the side as it's in there. And I bought these 3mm by 10 flathead Allen bolts, and that way they will not strip as easy as those butter soft Phillips head that we had stock on this thing. So we're gonna add some Loctite to these. Now, before we do that, one of the things I had to figure out was how to place this motor. And while I really wanted to, let me turn this thing around. Okay, so here we are. While I really wanted to have the motor placed perfectly so that you could read the insignia on the side, it's a little tough because we've got these, we've got the servo arm right there, and the lower this set of wires goes, the more likely it is going to hit the servo arm when I steer. So I do need a good amount of room. It's possible, if I can really crimp the wires back, that we won't have any problems. So I'm going to try, see if I can do that, and if I hold them back, that might work. But we also have to be open to the fact that we may have to just position the motor a little differently, so we'll see what we can do. All right, guys, we've got the motor mount. Now we are going to put the pinion. All right, the pinion is on. I need to put the grub screw in there, but I did notice it was extremely tight, so hopefully I didn't push this thing in too far. I should have been a little more careful, but we're going to see how this lines up, and then we are going to get the grub screw in right there. And you want to make sure that you put it right on that flat part so that grub screw can push up against there, and that you also have enough room to get in there and you don't jam this thing in too far. And everything is turning nicely, so we're going to see if we can install it. Now, these cars are a little different because you've got to stick that bearing essentially in this groove. So there's a little bit of maneuvering. I didn't loosen up all of this hardware. I managed to slip this out without doing that and not hurting anything. So hopefully I don't have to. But I'll see y'all on the other side getting this guy in there, and then we'll tighten up. All right, so we're moving along. We managed to get this thing in here. Now, we're just checking the gear mesh. Now, these cars do not have an adjustment where you can adjust the level of tightness, I guess, or the mesh. And generally, you want to have a little bit of movement when these gears sort of clank against each other. So I'm not really seeing that. But there's not much else I can do. There's no way to adjust the gear mesh. I would loosen these a little, but they are doing pretty good. So we're just gonna have to see. Everything looks good, as you can see. So we're gonna have to see what happens with this plastic gear. That's obviously gonna be the weak point with all this power. And you know, we're gonna have to see if anybody can figure it out and find one, or someone starts making one. That'll be great. And this bearing is setting right there in that recess. Now, the one thing I noticed, this is an aftermarket pinion. Seems like it's a little uneven. See how it kind of seems to wobble a little? It seems like it's wobbling. It goes up, and then watch, now it's a little bit lower. It's wobbling a little. That concerns me, but hopefully, you know, it'll be okay. It's straight on the shaft, but maybe when we tighten up the grub screw, it will straighten out a bit. So let's get that grub screw in, and we've got a little bit of Loctite on these guys, and now I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that grub screw. And you know, I'm sure y'all know, but Loctite blue works just fine. You don't need to use the red. The red has caused a lot of stripped grub screws and a lot of problems, so we definitely do not want that. We've got a tiny amount of Loctite blue on here. We're going to try to get this grub screw in there. It looks like it's in, so let me screw this thing in here. And it looks like it's going. All right, I'm gonna get this in nice and tight, and we'll be right back. All right, the grub screw is in. We've got good gear mesh. Now we're gonna slowly start to turn our attention to the next step. All right, so we've got everything bolted in. We put that little plastic little clip, and we look good. We got good gear mesh. We've got everything running pretty good. Even put a little bit of oil on that bearing there. And now on to the next. So then we add this little gear cover, and now we're going to be able to put the rest of the car. All right, guys, so we've got the adhesive back tape on here, and I decided to go with adding this little pad here that I cut from a dry board or dry eraser. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to have this area straight. As you can see, there's a little indentation, and my ESC that I bought just so happens to be too big to fit in that indentation, so I want to basically ride over the top here. And we are going to lay this right down there and make sure it is nice and secure. Okay, so this just acts as a pad to kind of flatten this space out. Looks like it's on really good. And then we're going to put another layer of adhesive on top, or really on the back of the ESC here, so that this guy can sit like this. Now, the other consideration is how we're going to mount it so that we have the best alignment, best room for battery. And so the thing is that we're going to have basically a couple things going on here. We're going to have our receiver pretty much right up here, and we're going to need to get to our servo wire to there, and also our ESC wire. These guys are going to hook into here, which is actually good because I can loop them back and make sure that these wires stay out of the way of that ESC arm, which you can see is pretty close. We don't want to have those things loose. We're going to have to definitely do some interesting wire tightening. We may need to stick perhaps a zip tie up in through here and clamp the wires here, but we're going to see. So that's going to be the next step, and even if we batten that thing down, we should still be able to get a zip tie through here and tighten these things up. So we'll do that next, and then we'll see. The other option would be to put it a little farther forward, which we could do, or the other option was to put it like this, but that also may cause some issues. So I think we are pretty much going to go with this setup, and I'm just going to figure out which way I want to go in terms of how far forward, but I think probably right in the middle is going to be good. All right, we'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, so we got the ESC mounted, and this was the approach. We put the wires here, we looped around. We're going to be able to put our battery right here without much trouble, and we'll connect in. What we wanted to do was make sure that we did not interfere with this arm, and while it's close, with a little bit of zip tying, we will be just fine. So we've got the ESC on. Next step is going to be checking that it all fits with the top, and then also doing a little bit. Guys, we've got it zip tied. Looks like we're good. What I did was I just added a zip through that little hole, and you can see we've got plenty of room. Let me bring it into the light here. Not a problem at all. Plenty of room. And now we're gonna get everything else going here. We may take a little break. We've got good battery access. We've got good connections here for everything that's going to go here. We're going to put the receiver probably like right here. And that should be great. We're going to basically grind this down with a Dremel and then stick it right there. Or maybe right here, we'll see. But somewhere up there in the front, we should be good. And everything is looking really great. What do you think? We just did a quick battery check. Everything fits pretty good. I did move the battery tray, and I probably will not use a strap. I'm just going to put a big slab of Velcro on the bottom of this. It's going to stay pretty tight once you Velcro it in. It's also held in place by that little platform that the ESC is on. Definitely a lot of wires, no doubt about it, but everything should be really good. Next thing we'll do, we'll get the ESC on there, or get the receiver. All right, we've got the Dremel running. We're going to be grinding down these little notches here just so that we can stick the receiver in the right place. We have glued the ESC on there. We ground down some of those ridges, and now it is there. This is For those wondering, this is a Radiolink R6FG. It's a 2.4 gigahertz transmitter with a built-in gyro. And so once this gets going, if it starts swerving, you'll see the wheels turn in the opposite direction. It's a really nice unit. You do need to get this receiver though. This goes with it. This is the Radiolink RC4GS. And this thing has a gyro that you can adjust. It's really nice. You can turn this dial and change the effect of the gyro. The other thing about this is you can use it on different cars. So I'm gonna have probably this remote work on this car and also this car. So that's the deal with that. And if you're using one of these and you wanna make the connection ready, I always have a little confusion about this. So I am putting two of my cars together that have the same ESC and transmitter and try to remember what goes where. So one thing that I was told was that, and it's worked fine, the light colored wires on this particular transmitter go on the inside. So you can see your orange or yellow, red, and brown are your top wire for your one slot, and then your white, red, and black are your second slot. So we're gonna basically do that and not think too much about it and hope that it all works, and I'm sure it will. So we're gonna get that thing in there right now. I'll see y'all on the other side of this. All right, so the wires are connected, and again, the lighter colored wires go on the inside, or I guess this side, the left side, the side toward the label. And as I did with my other car and was told on the WLtoys Facebook group, the lightest colored wire goes on the inside and we have the brown guy on top. Now, so the ESC is slot 2 and the Servo is slot number 1. Sorry about that. So that's what we're doing. Should work just fine. We'll be testing it shortly. All right, guys, we've had some success and some failure. So we've got everything connected here and everything is wired up. Originally, all of this was a lot cleaner and it was all put together, but I've been testing because for some reason, I've got everything synced up to my Radiolink. We've got we've got steering really ultra fast. Heck, we've even got the gyro. So y'all can see it is definitely going and everything is going good. If I go a bit too fast, we're obviously gonna fly off that thing. One thing I did do actually was I kept a little bit of that cover off back there because I want to watch that gear and make sure that it's okay. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, there we can see some of that pinion gear. I can't even go past half throttle. I know it seems kind of wussy, but it's just fast. I mean, I have this same mount and motor in my other rig, this guy, and I mean, past half throttle, you're really flying. So let me open it up and show you a little bit of what's going on. I've got a little bit of a weird bend here with the body, I think because we've got a big battery in there, and eventually I think it will eventually sort of adjust a little better. But so what I did was, if you watch the first step video, I ended up taking the body towers from the WLtoys 959 series and actually putting it on this guy. So I've got a lot taller battery towers here. Body towers, so that we have a little more lift of the car. We can get a little bit more height for the body, and that's helped a lot. So that has given me a lot more opportunity to run the body with this bigger battery and bigger ESC on the top here. So everything is looking pretty good, and I'll share kind of the way I set everything up. I probably should shut it off here, but basically you've got a few things going on here. Let me shut this off. Sorry, I was losing my train of thought. Okay, it's been late, long day working. So we've got the battery here running all the way across And I'm going to stick some Velcro here, and that will hold it in. I have some really like industrial grade Velcro, will not be a problem at all. I was trying to figure out why it's drooping so much. I need to add some preload. So what I did was a couple things. We've got the ESC mounted up here. I did have to take off the fan. I will watch this and see if it gets hot. Right now it's just fine. We've got the motor mounted here, which is a 3650 4300 kV. Now I watched one great guy, Joshua, who has an RC channel, and he had a lot of trouble with this pinion gear eating up the spur gear. And I think he had to go with a bigger pinion because he couldn't use the standard pinion that comes with these cars, because he used a 3660 motor, if I remember correctly. And Joshua, if you see this video, I'm not dogging any, I'm just trying to put some facts out from what I remember. And I think that one had a 5mm shaft. This is the standard, which I think is 3.65 or 3.165 or 3.175 millimeters. So your standard WLtoys 959, the green car with the 540 motor, and the same gear, it will fit on here. And it's the same one that comes with your car stock, your 144001. So that worked up fine. I did leave the cover off for now just because I want to wash this gear. I mean, when I take it out, I don't want to have any trouble. I kind of want to make sure dirt doesn't get in there. That gear is going to go through a lot of power and struggle. We don't want to have any problem. So this is your receiver. I use the Radiolink receiver. I'll show you right here. So Radiolink R6FG. I really like it. Haven't had any trouble with my other car, and so it's been really good. I'll put it on the old collector's ATC TFDR here. No, that's not going to work. All right, let's keep going, guys. Sorry. Okay, so the next thing that I did here, if you can see, is we've got we've got the receiver here. We've got basically two wires going to the receiver. One is the servo, which is always the top, and the bottom is basically your ESC. Now, your ground is going to be your lighter color wires, and those always go on the inside. Now, if I'm wrong, correct me, but if you've got the manual for this, it will share all of that. But what I was told is put those lighter color wires on the inside. Now, this is your little balance plug, so that just kind of sits under there nicely. There's a lot of hardware here. And we can just kind of stuff these cables under here, and that works just fine. Now, the other thing was routing this. I chose to basically route it around so that I have a little more space for the plugs for the motor. And I have the antenna sort of routing out the back. Worked fine, and I'm very proud of the place that I found for the switch, because the switch is right here. Now, it seems like an odd place for a switch. It doesn't affect anything. Nothing hits it because it's up on this little platform, but you can reach this switch without touching or taking off the cover. So let me show you how it all goes back on, and then we are good. So when I put it back on with this big battery, one thing I'll do, I will kind of try to tuck this down in there a little bit, and that itself will help. Then we've got these guys, we sort of stick those down a bit, and I might take some of that slack off of here. There is a little bit of extra battery cable there, or wire, I should say. Sorry guys, long night. And basically, you can see it's a tight fit, but it's not unmanageable. And all I do is I'll get the front of the car on first, which you see. Now you can see that taller tower is coming out. If you had the stock towers that come with this, no way. There's just no way. It would be really hard, if not impossible. And then all I have to do now, sorry guys, is just push the other one through. And it does a little bit, you know, of course it's a little bit of getting in there, but there's not much pressure here. I'm not doing that much of push down. And then all I'm going to do now, sorry because I've got one hand, should be using my mount, is I just pretty much clip it on. And if I can do this with one hand while recording a video, it's pretty easy. So that's what I would suggest is for you, is starting out with the WLtoys body mounts, and then you'll have a lot more room. And the last thing that I would say is the ESC. I mean, I would have loved to have run an ESC that has a fan, but I had to take the fan off because this is such a low profile car. And you know, if I had a fan on this, it would be great, but honestly, it's not a big deal. I think I don't really run these things crazy hard, so we really should be pretty good. And that is the driving WK or WLtoys, BK, we don't know what it is, but that's what they call it, is WLtoys. So the only thing that I don't like about this, and I bent the body up a little bit when I was doing some of the heat gun stuff, I ordered another one, is it's a little off there. I prefer this to be down a little more, but everything else is pretty good. And let me show you how I can turn this thing on. Check this out. Ooh, I mean, how cool was that? I mean, right there. Perfect spot. If you do manage to get any sort of ESC that's aftermarket, I mean, move the switch, put it in the front. How much better is that? I mean, so easy. And that's it. So we'll be testing it, and I'll probably get some drive time videos. Probably not the first time out, because I want to make sure that I do everything right and I don't crash too hard, and then we'll see what's up. So thanks guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope your brushless conversion goes really well. Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions.